This is Richard Wolff from Democracy at Work with another Wolff Responds. This one is about the remarkable foreign policy, so-called, of the Biden administration. Starting off with bombing in Syria a few weeks into a new administration, and now all kinds of aggressive vitriol against China and Russia. I want to talk about what that means in the context of American history. And in particular, I want to stress something. Foreign policy is often much more about domestic realities than it is about anything over there in the foreign world. I'm not denying that the United States is busy around the world with military bases and floating Armageddon kinds of shipping and so on. In a way that no other country on earth is. That is important. That does protect global interests. All of that is true. That's part of our foreign policy. But it is even more true and more important, in my judgment, that foreign policy be understood for the domestic purposes it serves. It'll help us understand what's going on, why the Trump administration's theater against China, which mostly failed, took the form that it did, and why the Biden administration follows suit, copies that, adds Russia in a way that Trump didn't, but other than that, plays the same game. Here's the basic purpose. Foreign policy is often a way to distract the public from the realities at home, particularly when those realities are depressing, dangerous, painful, hurtful. Then you need to have the foreign to get people focused on, to discharge their upset, their anger, their fear, their rage. And the government politicians know how to do that. That's their function, if you like. They are put in place to serve a capitalist system that has relentlessly, over the last 50 years, widened the gap between rich and poor, subjecting more and more Americans to the disintegration of whatever middle-class status they achieved and whatever American dream they hoped to engage. So let me briefly explain using an example from history. In the Great Depression of the 1930s, this country shifted to the left. Socialists, communists, unionists organized and won things they never dreamed they could. Did they overturn capitalism? Not at all. Did they leave the capitalists in charge? You bet. And that would cost them, as I'll explain in a moment. But during the 30s and into the war, up until 1945, they did win extraordinary things. Social Security, unemployment compensation, minimum wage, government jobs programs for millions. None of that had been achieved before. This was a record-breaking set of achievements, even more so when you realized what a large portion of that was paid for by taxes and borrowing from corporations and the rich. And so it's no surprise after the war that the business community, the corporations and the rich were outraged and wanted to undo the New Deal. The problem was it was politically impossible. The New Deal was wildly popular. The president who imposed the New Deal under pressure from unions, socialists, and communists was so popular that he was reelected 3 times. No president had ever achieved that before. He was the most popular president who happened to be the one who most taxed capitalists for the benefit of working people. Remarkable. So all of that had to be undone, and that was no easy task. Democratic Party in power, Republican redistributor of wealth downward, more popular than any other president. Foreign policy came to the rescue. Republicans and Democrats fell all over themselves to demonize the Soviet Union, to demonize socialists, communists, radicals, Marxists, leftists, you name it. They were threatening us. They were dangerous. They were under our beds. They were infiltrating our government, the whole apparatus. Here's the reality. In 1917, when the Russian Revolution happened, the United States sent troops to defeat that revolution. 10,000 American troops landed in the Soviet Union to overthrow the government. No Soviet troops ever landed in the United States in any comparable fashion. Who threatened whom? But none of that mattered. It was political theater. Foreign policy used to distract people from taking away the New Deal that they had accomplished in the 1930s and 40s. That was the reality. The communists were demonized and destroyed. The socialists were demonized and destroyed. And the labor movement was subjected to a crushing defeat right off the bat with Taft-Hartley Law in 1947, and steadily thereafter to become the shadow of its former self that it is today. And the Biden assault, aggressive assault, following Trump against China, against Russia, and so on, has the same distracting purpose. Here's the reality. Neither Republicans nor Democrats have been able or willing to stop American capitalism from becoming ever more unequal over the last 50 years. That's right, half a century. We are a much more unequal country today than we were 50 years ago. And that destruction of the American dream, destruction of the American middle class, that our two-party monopoly has presided over all these years, that needs to be distracted from, especially now that we have a pandemic threatening our health on top of an economic system threatening our economic future. And so, yes, we will once again see the theatrics of a foreign policy driven by the need to distract people from what is being done to them by capitalism here at home. This is Richard Wolff for Democracy at Work.